How's it going, folks? Here for our second video, Goals and Glory Performance. My name is Jonah Silk. I'm a clinical therapist, but also work with athletes. I was a former soccer player, soccer coach. Still try to knock it around a little bit, and I played hockey as well. Played men's league just recently, and will still soon. But I ended up choosing soccer and playing soccer in college, and man, it took me all over the place, and I learned a lot. It healed me from trauma. It probably brought some pretty tough adversity to me as well, and it in a lot of ways led me to this work. Um, but lately, I've been working on this kind of matrix, this model, and a lot of that was to help me organize all I've learned and what I want to offer. But then I felt like with the amount of information that's thrown at us from Pinterest to Instagram to our actual doctors, it can be overwhelming and not easy to know where to start, where to enter, what type of therapy to do, who to trust. It's a lot, and a lot of people then just don't go. I was one of those people, and so for me it was like, all right, well, what do I offer and what don't I, so I can say here's what I do and here's where you can go if I don't. um, but also because of some stuff that I see a little bit wrong with what we tell people and the way we treat mental health still, even as things start to improve. So this is this model. This is kind of going to introduce like what's different between sport performance. When do we start crossing over into mental health? I offer stuff within this. Some things I don't do, some things I do. Um, and then what we can do for folks that are experiencing uh, higher acuity stuff like complex trauma, PTSD, suicidality, substance abuse, comorbid disorders, and how we do have the information and insight how to really start to help those folks instead of what I believe kind of keeps them trapped here. And while this can be helpful for many, for some, this really needs to come after. So this is basically everything I've learned from my own experience. I was somebody who this really applies to, where I was in therapy for 10 years, struggling with relationships, other trauma, substances, all post athletic career, and finally now knowing that in reality I needed a lot what was down here in order to heal some of the grooves of trauma and the biological and physical way that we hold on to trauma, regardless if we have these great interventions up here. And what we're really learning now from experts and um, Vander Koch, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, went to a 16-hour seminar by him where he really backed a lot of this scientifically. It's been on the Huberman Lab, and a lot of kind of renowned professors and scientists that are really providing the evidence of what this stuff can do to heal people. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about that in order to share, educate, destigmatize, maybe hopefully inspire somebody to give someone a call, and also say what we don't do and where maybe we can learn to go get that elsewhere. Um, so let's get into it. Again, I do have some dogs. We're on the porch for where my office is, and they might bark, so please excuse me there. And also, my handwriting is atrocious, so work with me there. But this is mostly, like I said, just a model to guide me and for you guys to kind of see how I think it should be flip flop. Um, Almost anything I offer my clients, I've tried, and that's important to me. I want to not just be trained in it, but have experienced it. So almost anything on this top of the chart and a lot of what's on the bottom, I've started to experience in order to share. So in the sport performance realm, when I work with folks here, we really sign on and establish whether we, can sense through an assessment of where people are at, or some screens for depression or anxiety. If it's low and they're doing pretty well and they just have some goals and they want to change their performance or their um, consistency or their all of these themes we'll discuss, that's a good place for them. But if their screen or their mood or their goals or their symptoms are more in this mental health category, we sign on to that. So we make it clear kind of what we're signing on to, and the paperwork would reflect that. And sport performance, some themes we're working on. This will not include all the skills, all the exercises that we do. This is a very broad overview. And I would cheat myself and many others to say that there isn't some stuff missing from here. But we got to fit it on the board. And this is more like the big categories that have kind of subsets that we would include too. But for sport performance, some of the basic stuff that we want somebody to have in addition to their training and their skill, focus, mindfulness, visualization, motivation, having mantras, working on self-talk and the difference between confidence and anxiety, and um, routine building, goal setting, working through gratitude. We do injury support, we do career decisions, we do adjustment, and many more things, but some categories there. As it starts shifting into somebody experiencing more sleeping problems, depression, anxiety, anger, substance, right? We're starting to come into more of this category, and that's where a lot of what I offer and what I've done, and I can find to be, very helpful. And we're still kind of at that level. Would include kind of motivational interviewing, cognitive behavioral therapy, and mindfulness. It's known as like CBT, acceptance and commitment therapy, known as ACT, dialectical behavioral therapy. I am not an expert, but I am trained a bit there. That's DBT. Working through like meditation and yoga, and relaxation skills. Those are crucial too. Beginning to do purpose and identity work. If the person wants to keep going, or they maybe have found that this isn't working, and maybe, wow, we do have some more stuff that we need to dive into. We start getting into trauma psychoeducation, EMDR, yoga and movement therapy, going for retreats or adventure therapy. But oftentimes what we see is if we go in this order and somebody really does have deeply rooted trauma that keeps them stuck, that have some repeat patterns, that has them in that response, it doesn't matter if they know this stuff. Their trauma and their PTSD or their wiring is going to keep them here. And until we fix those grooves of the brain and really heal, that will repeat itself unless the person is really able to find some other forms of spiritual healing, or really heal and then utilize these somehow. And so a lot of people can't. And I am one of those people where I found that inevitably this stuff was very helpful, but I stayed kind of trapped in this space for a long time, doing pretty well while able to quickly still go back to what's happened and then repeat my behaviors. And so we've really found from the evidence now that for people that experience what I do, we need to start here. For people that experience what they do, when this stuff is not working for a long time and medication's not working, this treatment's not working, talk therapy isn't working, it's not their fault. And it's not that talk therapy doesn't work. They need this layer first. And this layer is more of the somatics. How do we heal the biology, the brain, the physical freeze, fight, flight response that comes from somebody being stuck in fear? Now, there's a lot of different science that goes into this, but one interesting fact is that all other animals and mammals tremble and shake and move and get themselves back regulated after something traumatic, and humans don't. We just carry it. And if we've had deep trauma or repeat trauma, even if it's lesser seriousness, we get wired to respond in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, our prefrontal lobe cortex shuts off. Regulation, emotional regulation, decision making, impulse control, shuts off, right? And we're in survival mode. A lot of mistakes can get made for people in that space. And so we need to allow people to heal that prior to telling them to do these things in many senses, right? Or simultaneously at minimum, while giving them some of the skills and coping skills that they need in order to do this stuff, right? So my belief is that for people that have PTSD or some of these more intense clinical disorders, substance abuse, suicidality, and complex trauma, probably some others I'm missing, not necessarily certain ones involving psychosis or psychotic features or schizophrenia, they might not benefit from some of what we're about to discuss. In fact, it could go wrong, right? If not led and done correctly. So the first part is to also say that there's a lot of better, more informed people on this than myself, right? Go listen to Van der Kolk, listen to the Huberman Lab, and they will talk about the science behind how psilocybin assisted therapy and other medicine therapies that are assisted by a professional in this or somebody who is very trained in it, um, is beneficial long term. And this is not just using street mushrooms or MDMA or ketamine, okay, and partying or watching movies or TV. And that's the difference. Psychedelic assisted therapy and what the science has proven can have, in a very short amount of time, some of the impact that lots and lots of time spent in this area can achieve. And that's because of its natural ability to create serotonin in the brain and for the person to safely go introspective to levels that aren't necessarily achievable in this realm. Um, that said, it is led by somebody who is there to take care of your needs and also prevent you from having distractions or having danger or having anything like that, and allowing you to truly get comfortable, cover your eyes, not be near your phone. And your entire journey is spent going internal, introspective. And there is information and leaders out there on the dosages and the timing and how to use it and not abuse it and how to do it safely. And this is crucial, right? And because not used correctly, it's like anything else, right? Just like any of the prescribed drugs. So, it needs to be a safe medical journey, right? And a lot of science there that can heal the grooves of the brain. Now, this is not an excuse for everybody who's suffering a little bit to say, let me go do some drugs, right? I think they're helpful in the way that they can be used correctly, right? And so a lot of the science behind that, it also says that you can have similar impacts from traveling, from going and spending time in nature and hiking, from going on a yoga retreat or doing group work, where you are just truly submerged in a safe space where you can finally do the work with minimal distraction um, and rewire and flatten that canvas a little bit, or erase that canvas. Um, and in my opinion, through that, finding self-love, finding purpose, finding kind of a new way of healing those grooves, then so much of this beautiful work can really take hold and not have this obstruction, that isn't those people's faults oftentimes. um, and so I'm hoping that this is informative, a little vulnerable for me because I'm very closely attached to all my work. And like I said, I really try to do anything that I'm going to share with my clients, both learning it but experiencing it as well. And there's also a lot of things other people offer that I don't or haven't learned or mastered, so I'm not putting it on there. But it can be very helpful for you, so don't be shy to try something else. Um, but this is kind of this cycle that I have recognized, that with the exception of somebody who needs this treatment, we can really enter it here, and we can still enter it here if we need to get here. But I think publicly we need to start being more open around the conversations that the scientists are having that maybe our society or culture hasn't caught up with or are willing to, despite there being massive amount of evidence now. Sure, that can be a little intimidating or dangerous, but we need to be smart about it. But the information is here. And so while many of us need this and can live in this space and should, all of this can be part of a great journey for us in terms of healing and mastering ourselves, and connecting some dots, and making the world a better place too, by not being broken. So hope this was helpful. I know there's more that's missing from this. I'm still learning these videos. I will be open to conversation, people adding stuff. And yeah, a lot of this is still in just the mission of getting people comfortable with the conversation and getting help. I can offer it. And if I can't, we can talk about where else you can go get that help. So look forward to hearing from you. I hope this made sense. The dogs were pretty good, so they can say hi now if they want. But come here, guys. Dogs are also a very good therapy. But soon we'll be doing some podcasts, having some guests. We'll be talking to Derek Shadig, who's a former Harvard goalie and great hockey player, now in the mental health space also, and some other interviews. And we look forward to working with some other people too. So look forward to more to come. And like I said, I hope this was helpful.